Israel lies in the very heart of the Middle East. This inspiring oasis of democracy and freedom is a nation of less than 8,000 square miles, almost the same size as the state of Massachusetts. Today, the population is about 2 million. But Israel is more than facts and figures. Israel is a people, and the people of Israel live. Am Yisrael Chai. The people of Israel live. The largest area in Israel is the Negev. The barren, hot, forbidding face of the desert dominates the life of the nation. For over 68% of Israel is thirsty desert land. But Israel is also green and verdant, the promised land of the Bible. These are the ancient hills of Judea, the very cradle of human civilization. The Roman ruins of Caesarea remind us that this was once a part of the mighty Roman Empire. But at least 5 centuries before Rome, these ruins were part of the ancient city of Jerusalem. Jerusalem is truly ancient. But Jerusalem is also modern, as up-to-date as any metropolis on the face of the earth, with its splendid hotels like the world-renowned King David, and the new Holy Land Hotel, as modern as tomorrow, but constructed of native stone to blend with its surroundings. The civic buildings of Jerusalem have the clean, efficient look of contemporary architecture. And the handsome new buildings of the Hebrew University are filled from dawn to dusk with the sound of students who have traveled from all over the world to this great center of learning. Just across the bay from the ancient town of Jaffa is Tel Aviv, a cosmopolitan city with a variety of cultural and recreational activities. Tel Aviv has museums and theaters. It is the home of the Chamber Theater and Habima, the National Theater. And the Israeli Philharmonic Orchestra has its headquarters here in the beautiful Man Auditorium. Tel Aviv's beaches, washed by the waters of the Mediterranean, are clean and white and warm, a favorite vacation area. At every turn along every road, in every part of the nation, there are exciting contrasts between old and new. The magnificent port of Haifa is busy 24 hours a day, forwarding Israel's exports and receiving her imports. To these thousands of homeless, displaced persons throughout the world, Haifa was their first welcome sight of freedom. And the stream of refugees continues, some of them arriving with little more than the clothes on their backs, happy to be reunited with a mother, a son, a cousin, perhaps the only other member of the family still alive, long ago given up as dead. And after the greetings and the tears begins a new life, in a new land where they can raise their children in a climate of acceptance under a sky of freedom. The young, the healthy, and the vigorous new citizens will receive special training to equip them for the hard life of the desert. Many will be sent to live somewhere in the Negev, which stretches from Beersheba at its northern point to Eilat in the south. Eilat is the new Israeli city built on the Gulf of Aqaba to serve the nation as a gateway of trade and a portal of commerce between Israel and those friendly nations of Asia and Africa with whom Israel has recently developed such excellent cultural and trade relations. It is here in the desert that Israel's greatest challenge lies, and also her greatest opportunity for continued growth and development. Although great strides have been made in transforming the lifeless desert into growing fields, only about 20% of Israel's land is under cultivation. There are still large areas to develop and much work to be done by everyone. The agronomist successfully growing wheat where wheat has never been grown before. The miners at King Solomon's mines at Timnah in the Negev, producing copper from mines that have been dormant for 3,000 years. The fisherman trolling on the Gulf of Aqaba, casting his net on the shores of Lake Tiberias, or fishing the broad waters of the Mediterranean. The very young who will never have to know the torments of the pogrom, and the very old who remember them only too well. The engineer with his transit and his plans, and the machines transforming the plans into reality. Hundreds of visitors using thousands of words have asked the same question over and over again. How can it possibly be, they want to know, that in only a few short years, a tired, weakened, dispersed, enslaved, dispirited, hopeless mass of human beings gathered from the 72 nations of the world, speaking 52 languages and dozens of dialects, have accomplished this remarkable transformation of national unity? The answer is a simple one. Through all the years of the diaspora, through the poverty and oppression of second-class citizenship and third-class citizenship and no citizenship of any kind, one dynamic force kept throbbing in these people, the creative energy of the human spirit. And with the birth of Israel, this pent-up energy, this underlying strength, this creative potential suddenly and spontaneously burst forward into the exhilarating atmosphere of human dignity and human freedom. The Israeli leaders knew their people, knew their hidden potential for work and sacrifice, and understood their aspirations and ideals. There were other leaders also who had confidence in the Jewish people. Leaders like Eleanor Roosevelt, the world patron of youth Aliyah, and Elizabeth, the Queen Mother of Belgium. There were also many Zionist groups, among them the women of Hadassah, who were certain that the creative energy of the Jewish spirit needed only the environment of freedom in order to find expression. This confidence in the people of Israel was deeply rooted in the far-sighted wisdom of Henrietta Zold, who founded the organization in 1912, 36 years before Israel became a reality. She understood that in order for the Jewish people to withstand the rigors of a pioneer existence, they would have to have great physical strength and high standards of medical care. As a result, the first Hadassah project in Israel was a small health welfare station for maternity care and the treatment of trachoma. This original tiny health welfare station has grown today into a vast network of medical services, including the outpatient department, which treats hundreds of thousands of patients annually. These greatly diversified medical services are in some ways the foundation of all medical facilities in Israel. Hadassah's tradition has been to give birth to these projects and to organize them and operate them until they achieve maturity. Then these facilities are given to the people of Israel, and financial support is continued until the project is independent. While providing medical facilities, Hadassah is also training medical personnel. 200 Israeli doctors, nurses, and technicians have been awarded visiting and exchange fellowships in the United States and other lands. Thus, Israel is attaining American standards of medical practice, healing, teaching, and research. This type of program results in good health and a rebirth of personality, a rebirth expressed in stature and pride and accomplishment. Although the medical program has been its primary undertaking, Hadassah has made other inspiring contributions to the growth of Israel. Many men and women have witnessed this unusual growth of Hadassah and Israel. One man who has faith in this growth is driving this car. His name is Benjamin Adin. Born and raised in Israel, a soldier in the British Army during the Second World War, a freedom fighter for Israel in the War of Independence, the driver of one of the ill-fated vehicles which was ambushed on the slopes of Mount Scopus, in which 71 Hadassah Hebrew University personnel were killed. Now a driver and guide for Hadassah, this man knows every inch of Israeli territory. Today he's on happy business, a picnic in the park with his grandchildren. But let's listen to him now as he speaks his thoughts.
When I look at the bright and happy faces of my own children and grandchildren, I can't help thinking how lucky this new generation is to be growing up in a land with all the advantages that my generation never had. The face of Israel is like that of a young child. It changes every time you look at it. My own granddaughter reminds me of the little girl I saw only yesterday at Kiryat Yovel. Kiryat Yovel is a magnificent Hadassah medical organization undertaking where 1,500 families live together in an atmosphere of goodwill and well-being. Under the watchful eyes of skilled doctors, nurses, therapists, social workers, and psychiatrists, the needs, physical, mental, and economic of each family are studied. There are nurses to take the history of each member of the family, and the medical records become a permanent part of the files of Kiryat Yovel, which are used as a guide for future treatment. Each member of the family receives regular physical examinations, which are also recorded. The examination is very complete, including dental checkups. First aid in minor emergencies received prompt, tender, loving care, and major medical problems are referred to Hadassah's hospitals and specialized facilities in Jerusalem. At Kiryat Yovel, they don't wait for people to get sick. They prevent sickness before it starts. Here, they are concerned not with just the physical, but with the total well-being of each family. There is a library filled with great books and the reading room where the youngsters can study and learn and think. And when the Shabbat comes, the reading room is converted into a synagogue, where the soul of a man as well as his body can find its way back to health. I like to say that Kiryat Yovel takes care of each member of the entire family, from top to bottom. It is here in these beautiful surroundings that Hadassah nurses receive part of their training. The principles which work successfully at Kiryat Yovel are applied throughout Hadassah's vast network of health and welfare stations, such as this one at Abu Ghosh, an all-Arab village in the Jerusalem corridor. Hadassah medical care is administered to all citizens of Israel, Christians, Muslims, and Jews. Along with the prevention and treatment of disease, Hadassah encourages and assists substantial programs of medical research. The K. Anderson heart-lung machine and this artificial kidney, the only ones in the Middle East, are typical of the many expensive machines which are so necessary to a complete medical program. They will be joined shortly by the newest type model of the cobalt bomb for cancer research and high voltage therapy. Some of the much-needed scientific equipment is being made at a Brandeis School for Boys. This school is part of Hadassah's vocational education services. Here the boys study mechanics and science and literature and mathematics. And then they apply what they have learned to produce practical things, things the nation will need, such as these scientific instruments. The printing shop at the Brandeis School is so good that the graduates are in demand in every area of the publishing industry all over the country. They have developed this new typeface, Hadassah Hebrew they call it. Wonderful, isn't it? Just a little contribution, I suppose. And yet, if our country is to grow, and if our exports are going to increase, we must create more industries. And the only way we can have more industries is to train our young people to do the technical jobs. Because of this, Hadassah leaders in vocational education work closely with our government people to plan, to find out what will help our country develop, to cooperate so we can have the technicians we will need in the future. The course of study at Hadassah Seligsburg School for Girls has been made standard for all the rest of Israel's vocational high schools. This student is learning to weave cloth. She can remember the pattern because it was handed down in her family for generations. Dressmaking is also part of their studies. This dress won a prize for original design and fine workmanship. And the students learn arts and crafts. It isn't all art, of course. Some of the students learn to be secretaries and bookkeepers too. After all, someone has to keep the books, and someone has to write the letters asking the customers to pay their bills so we can balance the books. There is also the course for laboratory technicians. These specialists are always in demand in hospitals all over the country. But you can't just train people for a kind of work because you happen to need technicians in that field. A person has to have special ability. Hadassah's program of vocational testing tries to discover what each youngster is best able to do. They test the student's personality, manual dexterity, and intelligence. Hadassah pioneered in vocational testing of the blind and other physically handicapped. It tries to help each person to learn to use his own abilities and qualities for his own future and for the future of our country. Nobody can look at an immigrant child and predict what kind of a future is waiting for him. Youth Aliyah, directed by Henrietta Salt from its inception, has rescued almost 100,000 young people from lives of infinite tragedy. They have come to Israel by every available means of transportation, by plane, by ship, some of them even walking, when there was no other way. The reception center for Youth Aliyah is at Ramat Hadassah Soul. In this lovely setting of peace and tranquility, the newcomers spend 4 hours of each day in school and 4 hours working, with their evenings devoted to recreation and group living. Here they begin to look forward to a bright future, instead of back upon a hopeless past. They enjoy pleasant contacts with other youth and with leaders who guide them and help them establish themselves in their new homeland. After about 6 weeks of training, they leave Ramat Hadassah Soul and go on to any one of the more than 250 Youth Aliyah centers throughout Israel. The younger children, below the minimum Youth Aliyah age of 12, are provided for in attractive and frank havens, built with special funds raised by Hadassah in memory of that young Jewish martyr. Others go on to established Youth Aliyah centers. Some find their way to Neurim, where Youth Aliyah and Hadassah jointly sponsor the Rural Vocational Center. Here the young students learn the art of working the land, learn the new techniques of planting, of scientific farming, of rotating crops, of irrigation, of mechanized farming, of raising vegetables, and of animal husbandry. Girls also learn to farm. And in addition, they are offered extra courses in cooking and in sewing. They can learn to handle all the special problems of rural life. But youth aliyah isn't all work or all study. There is entertainment and fun and good fellowship. And sometimes there are contests to see how well they have learned their lessons. Some of these contests are healthy, peaceful competition between Jewish and Arab youth. From Arab villages all over Israel, these young farmers come for a 6-week course in modern farming methods. After completing this course, they will go back to their home villages, better equipped to help advance their own people. The mutual understanding and friendships that result from this work will mean a better tomorrow for Israel, for all the Middle East, and for the entire world. There is plenty of room for improvement in the world. I thought of this myself recently when I drove some visitors out to see Kibbutz Lochamei HaGetaot. This settlement was established by some of the heroic survivors of the Warsaw Ghetto tragedy. Hadassah funds have been used to build a new youth center for Polish immigrant children. These kids are bright, eager to learn, willing to work hard, anxious to improve. They tell me these European children are quite different from the young people being saved these days, many of them coming from very backward Oriental and North African areas. But my own opinion is that children are children, and beneath the surface, they are all very much alike. It is easy to notice this when I drive the children out of the city and up to the summer camp that Youth Aliyah maintains at Kfar Vitkin. They have an exciting time up there. 10 days of real fun and learning to play. Many of the Youth Aliyah villages even have their own band, like this one at Alonei Yitzchak. Don't make a mistake, it isn't like the Israeli Philharmonic. But still, they play. What else can you ask? When our little ones are happy, that's the time we are happy. You know how it is with a grandfather. Well, now I have to get back to work. I'm driving some of the Hadassah nurses up to Ein Karem to look over the new medical center there. Shalom.
Just a driver in the service of Hadassah? No, indeed. Benjamin Adin is a great man. For with his depth of clear understanding, his tireless patience and his faith, he can appreciate the changes which have taken place in the people of Israel and in the land. Before his eyes he has seen the barren rock change to fruitful vineyards, the swamps to fields of wheat, and the desert to beautiful cities. Back in 1926, more than 20 years before the establishment of the state, Hadassah formed a creative and financial partnership with the Jewish National Fund. And each year since then, Hadassah has committed itself to the reclamation of some one important portion of Israel's land. In just the last 3 years, Hadassah has reclaimed 15,000 dunams of land and planted 500,000 trees. Besides providing a source of income for thousands of new immigrants, the reclaimed land has resulted in the establishment of 5 villages housing 60,000 families. But before the people can move onto the land, build new homes, and tend the vineyards, they must be strong, spiritually as well as physically. And the people are strong. Hadassah has played an important role in this achievement. This road will lead Adin to Hadassah's most ambitious project in all the years since Henrietta Zold founded the organization. This is the great new medical center on the hills of Ein Kerem. The new center will include the Hebrew University Hadassah Medical School, with a total enrollment of 450 students. The Henrietta Zold School of Nursing, complete with housing and teaching facilities for 150 student nurses. The new 500-bed Rothschild Hadassah University Hospital. The Rosensohn Outpatient Department, which will treat 1,000 patients a day coming from every corner of the land. A new mother and child pavilion for maternity and infant care. All research and clinical laboratories necessary to serve both the school and the hospital, as well as all the research facilities required to carry on the great Hadassah tradition of independent, original medical research, which has already contributed so much to medical progress in Israel and in the rest of the world. How can one describe this project? Ambitious? Certainly. Needed? Desperately. Imaginative? Incredibly so. To the men who are doing the actual work on the Hadassah Medical Center, to the stonemasons, to the welders, to the carpenters, to the laborers, to the engineers, to the plasterers, to the doctors, and to the nurses who will learn and live and study and work in this magnificent medical achievement. To all of these dedicated people, this great project, which will take its place among the major medical centers of the world, is a symbolic promise of the future life they want their children to have and to share in the free air of Israel. To people like Benjamin Adin, his children and his grandchildren, this practical culmination of Hadassah's work in Israel is simply a concrete expression of something they have known instinctively for many centuries. Am Yisrael Chai. The people of Israel live.